When you think of ancient Egypt, your mind probably jumps straight to the huge pyramids, the powerful pharaohs, and all those amazing hieroglyphs. But behind all that incredible grandeur was a technological revolution that kind of made it all possible. So today, we're going to look past the monuments and uncover the story of Egypt's first great metal, copper. And it all really boils down to one simple but huge question.
Now, I know that sounds super simple, right? But for early civilizations, this was one of the biggest challenges they ever faced. For thousands and thousands of years, the only answer was to, well, ship one rock with another one. But then, the Egyptians found something totally new, a way to transform the very stuff of the earth that must have looked like actual magic.
I mean, just look at this comparison. It shows what an incredible leap forward we're talking about. Sure, stone tools were a game changer in their own right, but they had serious limits. You could only chip them into a few basic shapes and, they could shatter pretty easily. But copper? Copper changed everything. You could melt it, pour it into a mold, and hammer it into all kinds of complex, durable shapes, like sharp blades and pots. This wasn't just a small step up, it was a whole new world of possibilities opening up.
Okay, so this amazing material is here, but where in the world did it come from? Well, I can tell you this, it wasn't just lying around for the taking. The hunt for copper was a massive quest all on its own.
To get their hands on it, the Egyptians had to send expeditions all the way out to the Sinai Peninsula, which is a really rugged and dangerous desert. And we're not talking about a weekend road trip here. This required some serious state-level planning and logistics to send huge teams of people into that kind of environment, just to bring back the raw materials.
And here's the really wild part. What they were digging up didn't look like shiny, usable metal at all. Nope. They were looking for this stuff, copper ore. And it's basically just rock. It's got these little bits of copper mineral trapped inside, mixed with a bunch of other junk. The real genius here was that the Egyptians could look at this ordinary stone and see the hidden treasure locked within it.
And just getting that ore out of the ground, it was brutally difficult. We're talking about intense, back-breaking human labor using really simple tools, all in the blistering heat of the desert. Forget modern machinery, forget drills or anything like that. This whole thing, from finding the rock to breaking it up and hauling it back, it all depended on a huge organized workforce that had to be managed by the state.
So, they've got the rock. Now what? Well, this is where the real magic happens. This is the part where they unlock the metal from the stone using fire. It's a process called smelting, and for people back then, it must have looked like straight-up sorcery.
Smelting was the absolute key to everything. This wasn't just about throwing rocks in a fire. It was about using incredibly high, controlled heat to force a chemical reaction, to literally pull the pure copper away from all the worthless rock and minerals it was mixed with. It sounds complicated, but they had this process down to a science. First off, you crush the ore into small pieces to expose more of it to the heat. Next, you use charcoal for fuel, because it burns way hotter than regular wood. Then, and this is the real kicker, you force air into the furnace with things like blowpipes to supercharge the fire. And finally, the molten metal pools at the bottom, and you can just pour it off and get rid of the useless waste.
And that right there was the secret sauce. A normal campfire doesn't get anywhere near hot enough to melt metal out of rock. The Egyptians figured out that by pumping more air into the fire, they could crank the temperature way up. It's a pretty simple concept, really, but it was the revolutionary trick that gave them power over the elements.
And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some recipe they were following. It was a really skilled craft passed down from person to person. These ancient metalworkers were like the very first scientists, constantly experimenting. They had to learn how to judge the ore, control the heat, and get the timing just right, all based on experience. These guys were basically the first chemists, all without a textbook.
So, after all that, the dangerous trips, the back-breaking mining, the tricky smelting, was it worth it? Oh yeah, because now they could literally forge a new world.
The impact was, it was enormous. Suddenly they had stronger tools to build their incredible monuments, sharper blades for their soldiers, and durable pots and pans for daily life. It also let them create all kinds of beautiful jewelry and ornaments. And maybe most importantly, mastering copper was the essential first step that taught them how to work with metals, paving the way for an even better material later on, bronze.
Okay, this is a great story, right? But it does make you wonder, this all happened thousands of years ago. How on earth do we know all these little details with any certainty?
Well, the answer is pretty cool. It's because they left clues behind, like a trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow. Archaeologists have literally found the ancient mines in the Sinai. They've dug up the little ceramic pots, called crucibles, that were used to melt the metal. They found massive piles of the glassy waste product called slag. And on top of all that physical evidence, we have written records from the Egyptians themselves talking about their expeditions.
And that's the key right there. It's not about finding just one little piece of the puzzle. It's about seeing how all the pieces fit together. When the physical proof from the ground, the mines, the pots, tells the exact same story as the ancient texts, that's when historians can be confident they're getting a really clear picture of the past.
But look, this story isn't just about a cool new material. The true power of copper wasn't just what it was, but what it did. It completely reshaped their entire society.
I mean, think about it. This whole operation created entirely new jobs for miners, smelters, and smiths, specialized workers. And you can't just send a few guys out to do this stuff. It required massive, state-level planning to pull it off. This gave the government, the pharaoh, direct control over this incredibly valuable new resource. And that, in turn, made the state stronger and fueled even more trade and exploration.
And that really brings us to the big takeaway here. We often see history as just a story about kings and queens and big battles. But civilization is also built on something way more fundamental, mastering the stuff around us. Behind every grand temple and every golden tomb, there's a hidden story of knowledge, labor, and technology.
So, the Egyptians took this boring-looking rock and figured out how to unlock its secrets to build their entire world. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What are the ores of our time? What are the hidden materials, from the silicon in our computer chips to the lithium in our batteries, that we're transforming right now to build the civilizations of tomorrow?